Hey, gang, we got a $250,000 a year firm that is at capacity. They are behind. They are so behind. So what do you do, right? It's Rose to Firm, presented by Firm 360. What?
You call that a profit margin?
Yeah.
Who needs automation when you've got 5 monitors? There is a mouse? Oh, is that what the client said? Well, maybe the client should prepare the return then, huh?
Whiteboard time. So this firm is sitting at $250K a year in annual revenue, pretty much exclusively in tax, 85% of which is 1040 work, and they're in a big-ish market. They have 2 3/4-time partners and 2 seasonal staff. Pain points? There's a lot, but most of them stem from perpetually being behind. In the good old days, they turned around tax returns in 2 or 3 weeks. These days, they don't. Start-stops on returns are killing productivity, and clients keep checking in because it's taking forever to complete the return. With their current systems, they struggle to see a complete client profile. They want to see how long they've been clients, what they've been billed in the past, more helpful metadata in one place. And they're doing a bunch of little stuff for clients that they're struggling to charge for. Now, what are they enjoying? This partner loves getting proactive, doing mid-year check-ins and consulting, and nothing gives her greater joy than getting all the info she needs from a client when they need it, without a whole bunch of back and forth. Let's look at their annual cadence. I said at the top, they're built virtually 100% on tax work. During busy season, both partners are working overtime. They have an admin working full-time and a reviewer working 30 hours a week. The rest of the year, the partners work half-time or less. The admin works 12 to 18-hour weeks, and the reviewer 5 to 15 hours. Organizers and engagement letters are wrangled using Cognito forms. Returns are prepared in Drake. They use ShareFile as their portal and write signature for e-sigs. Client schedule via Calendly, and workflow is managed in Airtable. Pricing is a mixed bag as they transition out of a legacy pricing model. Previously, they had a minimum of less than $300 for a 1040. New 1040s now come in between $800 and $1,400 a year, with S-Corps at about $1,500. While they don't have a specific specialization, a large percentage of their client base comes from non-traditional earners, creatives and sex workers, for example, with over a quarter of clients from queer and gender diverse communities. They have a long wait list, longer than their current client list, and pull in clients from that list as they have availability. So the goal today, we'll run through some ideas we've crowdsourced, try to pare it down to the 2 or 3 highest impact next steps for this firm. We got some great input for this actually on Twitter. Here's a few of my favorites. Common thread here was increasing prices. That's a bit of a trend. I think capacity problems are often pricing problems. Megan had a good point here. Pinpoint those problematic clients. Either tell them exactly the format you need their info in, or cut them loose. I like Josh's third point here. Let's pull the admin in to mitigate some of that start-stop. And I like the first tip from Luke here, with the current minimum level of service being the lowest tier. Our brain kind of anchors to the clients who are at the bottom, but you'd be surprised how many clients would actually pay more. So my initial impressions with this, let's cruise through kind of some tidbits I jotted down when I went through this. First was it was relatable. Almost everyone I talk to says, boy, it sure doesn't feel like we can get as much work done as we used to, huh? That is very relatable. On pricing, you're doing the right thing. I don't know that any of us can say there wasn't a time where we just weren't charging enough. Now, I would encourage you not to mentally anchor yourself to what you've done in the past. If in the past 280 was your minimum and now 800 is your minimum, but a year from now you think 1200 will be your minimum, just go to 1200. Now, say we're a different firm now. I'm sorry, it's hard to let down those clients, but you'll be surprised how many people will actually stick around. The trouble is if you don't do that, you become kind of the victim of your own generosity. Anyone struggling to overcome the mental barriers to increasing your prices, super recommend you check out this video and share it with the people in your firm. Other tidbits, no PM, no practice management system, kind of surprising. It's worth making that investment. You gotta do it at some point. It'll feel like a lot of money if you haven't done it before. But for the reasons that we're gonna get into in this video, a cloud practice management system is totally worth the investment. What else? Oh, your wait list. This may feel like a reason not to market. But remember, wait lists are lists of people who want you to work for them, not a list of people you necessarily want to do any work for. So cherry pick from that list for sure, pull in the people who are the best fit for your firm moving forward. But if that list was built on the people who went to your webpage and saw, oh sweet, I can get a tax return for 250 bucks, that list is valueless. So don't necessarily think of the list as a reason not to be out marketing, trying to get in front of your next perfect client. Always remember, your current client list is not your perfect client list. It's always a work in progress. It never gets to a point where it's done. Now, 2 guest tidbits.
I didn't see where they said take stock of what your 3-year plan was or your 1-year plan. If you know where you want to go, it makes all these decisions a lot easier. So if it's to be the same size, just with more profit, there's ideas. If there's, growing and using the wait list, then do that. But really take stock of what you want to work towards and then make the decisions that align with that direction. Leo and Piper say goodbye. See ya.
My suggestion would be to move to a menu pricing for these clients. You can have your in and out clients who are just paying for basic tax prep, nothing else. You can have them at a lower price point. And then for the people who do want more, who do want those estimated calculations, who do want that intra-year tax planning, then you can charge them more and they can choose to have it.
Now, anytime there's like a ton to tackle, I think the great North Star for me is always to come back to what it is that you want to do. And in this case, for this partner, that's more proactive planning. That's what they really enjoy. Checking in mid-year with clients and having more advisory conversations. And the reality is, at the end of the day, the ability to do that, it's a product of capacity. When you get too busy, those are the first things that go by the wayside. So my first main bit of advice is you have capacity problems disguised as workflow problems. Can your workflow always be better? Yes, you can. Yep. Will better workflow increase your capacity? Yes. Do we like to talk about workflow to avoid the fact that we have to come to some hard capacity decisions? Is the Pope Catholic? Okay, what's happening right now? All of that is true. Workflow improves capacity. But as inconvenient as this is, you first gotta be honest about the capacity you have and then work on the workflow. The capacity you have is the capacity you have. A tax return today takes a different amount of time than the same tax return did a few years ago for 100 different reasons that we really don't need to get into here. But a lot of us are carrying shame for this right now, honestly. Why can't we get out the work like we used to? If this is you, then the best thing that you can do is to stop, reassess capacity from the ground up. If you're behind, you shouldn't be letting in new clients, or you should be cutting bad fit clients faster than you're bringing in great fit clients. I see this as the single biggest issue for firms today. The gatekeepers of firms are not being realistic about what your team can handle. That's why people are so burnt out. And this all starts with giving yourself permission to do less. So here it is, take your permission. Okay, next, let's talk about a problem that I think many of us have dealt with. Is this good?
You ready?
My name is Starty Stoppy. I've worked with an accountant for about 3 years now.
Can you describe what the process typically looks like working with your tax accountant?
Yeah, there's a little intake form and it spits out kind of like an ugly checklist, like of stuff to send over.
And do you send those items over?
Oh no, no, it's a long list. I generally send a few at a time, whenever I get to it.
Do you ever consider just sending the entire list all at once?
No.
When do you get around to sending all the items over? What does the process look like after that?
Oh, well, there's usually a lot of waiting, no shade on my accountant, they're great, but this last few years have taken a long time. But eventually they follow up and send me a list of more stuff I need to give them, and stuff from the first list that I forgot.
And when you get to those lists?
Usually I don't think they actually need all those things. So I'll send them the ones that they think they need, the pages from the documents that I think are actually important, stuff like that.
And is that usually the end of it then?
Oh no, I usually have documents trickle in that I'm not even expecting.
And you send those in to your accountant?
What's that?
And you send those documents in?
When I get to it.
Would you say there's a lot of back and forth involved in completing your tax return?
Yeah. We exchange upwards of 20 emails across months to get it done. Was that good? Did you get what you needed? The old Starty Stoppy, pick up, put down, hokey pokey. It's like the worst aspect of tax work. And I've said this before, tax work efficiency is currently defined by how intelligently you can request information from clients. Because right now, sitting down and completing a return in one sitting, there's no better feeling than that. Not that you would know. Now there are 100 things that contribute to stop-start, but 2 things really help here. Tax planning and more comprehensive info requests. So first there, tax planning. It's because it helps you to know what to ask. You're never gonna know 100% of what a client needs to give you to complete a tax return. But if you do year-end planning, you talk to them November, December, you're gonna know a lot more than if you didn't talk to them since last March, right? And second, more comprehensive info requests, because low effort, boilerplate initial requests create a pile of work in tax season. So Two scenarios. One, you send out a generic request. It's super fast and easy to send out in December to a bunch of people. I'm looking at you, boring tax software generated organizer. But then requires you to build a list of what you actually need in your busiest season, right? As opposed to doing the work of building a custom to the client list in your slowest season. Have a junior team build that stuff out for you. You're shifting work out of busy season. Now the main counter argument here is, it's so much work to build a custom list for each client though. You're already doing it, bub. You're doing it client by client during busy season. Now the other counter argument you see, you're never gonna get 100% of their info from them because you don't know what you need until you do the tax return. And you're right, but if the boilerplate request gets you 50% of the information, even getting to 75, that's a big win. Realistically, if you're doing this well and you're doing tax planning, that initial request ought to have like 95% of the info that you need, and it can be done by your junior team during your least busy season. Now, this doesn't need to be an all or nothing thing. If you think about it, I got 500 clients, when am I gonna find the time to do the, you can handpick who you start doing this with, because from a client service standpoint, there's actually a big step up. They don't like to start-stop either. But start easing into this. Find a subset of clients you'll do this for. I think you'll see just how powerful it is. Now, what's the right way to make those requests? This is the other big unlock here. You need software to make these requests and automatically follow up until they're complete. Let the machines do the requesting. Let the humans do the squishy stuff. Because how many times has this been you? Here's a list of what I need. Just checking in to see if you got my email. Hey, just checking in again. Hey, Steve, how's the family? Hey, me again, hate to be a pest. I'm just kidding. You gave up after 4 weeks because it's uncomfortable. And honestly, you have better things to do. So let the machines do the follow-ups. Because the following up across hundreds of clients quickly becomes a part-time job. And I can show you just how easy it is to do with a little tool I like to call Firm 360. That's what it's actually called. So we're looking at the client Brogan McGrathman here, and we want to queue up some requests for his individual tax return. We'll go over to tasks, two types of tasks, internal user tasks and client actions. We're gonna add a couple of client actions. So we're gonna say document request first. Brogan works for Best Buy, so every year he has to get us that Best Buy W-2. We're gonna say form W-2 from Best Buy, add the request. Cool thing you can do here in Firm 360, I'm gonna go back to Brogan, look at the contacts associated with this client. You can actually impersonate their client view. I'm gonna come down here to impersonate. And here's what Brogan sees on his side now. He's got one client action. We're gonna view that. We need the W-2 from Best Buy. You can view that, upload the document, and once that uploads, it'll mark that task complete. So back on the firm side, we can see this request is now done. But what I actually wanna do is just queue up a whole bunch of these. How about, did you pay the Q4 estimate I gave you? Another cool thing these requests let you do is put in an external link. So I know we all hate sending clients to a bunch of different places, but oftentimes it's kind of a necessary evil. So if you use a separate system for proposals, for payments, for completing a boilerplate organizer, you can send them to that external place. And then in the client view, refresh that, you've got a link to go out and view that external thing. And once they do it, you just click a little check mark here. Now the real value here is before tax season, all your clients have a complete list of all the stuff they've got to get to you. You're taking that work out of busy season. Now Firm 360, today's sponsor, really shows you just how easy this can be. Now, third and final bit of advice, more clear client guidelines around when clients can expect their work to be done. The partner here mentioned that they struggle with clients who are slow to get info in and then having to fast track that person's return when they need to get it over to a banker or something like that. And this sucks. It's really Stoppy's problem because he didn't get his info in timely, but you still wanna come through for him, right? So the only solution here is to set really clear deadlines for your clients and define what happens if they don't meet those deadlines. How quickly should someone expect a return from you once you have complete info? That's something you ought to have a really clear answer for. After all, remember, you make the rules, you define what's reasonable, and if the client doesn't agree with it, that's their problem at the end of the day. Setting and enforcing clear client deadlines is really the only way to take the stress out of capacity planning. And while simply moving the deadline up may feel like a solution, it still doesn't work if you simply can't get the work done in that time frame. If everybody gives you their work by that accelerated deadline, you're not gonna get it done any faster than you did before, right? So check this out. I did a deep dive on the best ways to set client deadlines. Check that video out here, and if you wanna get your firm anonymously roasted, check out the form in the video description.